You're tuned into the first newscast devoted to the Highland Lakes area. Local team coverage on Tribune Headline News, bringing you the stories you care about now. Hi everyone, I'm Connie Swinney. You're watching the Picayune TV on Northland Channel 15. Coming up in this broadcast, local law enforcement agencies are trying to keep prescription drugs out of the hands of youngsters. We'll tell you how you can help. We have details about where you can watch our latest candidates forum. Details later. And April marks an anniversary for a popular publication in the Highland Lakes. The Picayune turns 20.
Even though we'll have a beautiful day today, we still have a high fire danger in the area. But we'll have that all in your forecast later in weather.
As our school and city elections draw closer, it's important to know who's shaping the discussion for these critical issues in our area. The Picayune candidate forums can be found on thepicayunetv.com and also Northland Communications Channel 15.
Welcome back. Is your medicine cabinet overflowing with old and outdated or unused prescription drugs? Local authorities are trying to prevent these items from falling into the hands of youngsters. The Burnett County Sheriff's Office is hoping people who have unwanted or unneeded prescription drugs will drop them off for proper disposal at a number of locations, including the Sheriff's Office, Bertram Police Department headquarters, and the Marble Falls Police Department. The effort is part of the National Take Back Prescription Drugs Program, sponsored by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency. The goal is to collect over 200,000 pounds of pills across the nation. Prescription abuse is second behind marijuana as the most common form of drug crime in the country. In our next story, we bring you the latest images from the Picayune TV Candidates Forum. Candidates from the Granite Shoal City Council race were in the hot seat for our recorded session on Wednesday. Those throwing their hats in the ring for the May 14th election answered difficult questions about infrastructure and community growth. We also hosted two candidates for the mayor's race in Marble Falls. These shows will be aired on Northland Channel 15, and you can check out episodes of Tribune Talk featuring the forums on thepicayunetv.com and on our YouTube channel. You can see the address there on your screen. We'll be right back after the break with your local weather forecast.
We caught up with two area seniors who are making their marks in different sports. We're going to tell you all about that coming up in sports.
Vera's Strength and Fitness. Fitness programs that are fun and exciting with true performance and true results. Vera's Strength and Fitness, 708 Industrial Boulevard, Suite 101 in Marble Falls.
Because experience matters. For home, auto, business, health, and life, we are here for you. When Galloway experts make top providers compete for your business, you win. The Galloway Insurance Team, since 1935. Burnett, Horseshoe Bay, and Marble Falls.
Welcome back. Jared Fields has your weather outlook for the week. Jared?
Hello everyone. Today looks to be an almost perfect day, but temps and winds will rise as we head into the weekend. Now that, along with our already dry conditions, has the area under critical fire weather conditions. So no fires, please. Now here's the rest of your forecast for Northland 15 and the Picayune TV. Today we've got sunny skies, a high near 82, and calm winds of between 5 and 10 miles an hour. Now that gives way to mostly clear skies tonight with a low around 54, winds still calm around 10 miles an hour. Friday, however, we've still got those sunny skies. The high will creep up to about 90 degrees. We've got south winds though between 10 and 20 miles an hour with gusts up to 25 miles an hour. And we'll still have those winds Friday night as we've got mostly cloudy skies with a low around 69. Saturday, we've got partly sunny skies, a high again near 90 degrees with south winds between 10 and 15 with gusts as high as 20 miles an hour. Now we might have a reprieve from our dry weather later in the weekend as we have a slight chance for showers in our forecast, but we'll have those details tomorrow. Until then, for Northland 15 and the Picayune TV, I'm Jared Fields.
Jared, thanks. Let's turn to sports with Jennifer Fierro.
As a special treat this week, we're going to be profiling some of our student athletes who'll be moving on to the next level. We're going to start with senior catcher Grant Martin out of Burnett High School, who has signed to play with the University of Texas baseball program. Here's what Grant had to say about his opportunity.
Getting the opportunity to play for a program like that is just a dream come true, on top of getting a great education and just getting to be a part of something else besides high school, beyond high school.
Marble Falls High School head track coach Kyle Futrell did not want to have 2 weeks before his regional qualifiers had a chance to go ahead and compete. Therefore, Marble Falls hosted another regional qualifiers meet on Thursday. One of them is Austin Sparks, who happens to be throwing in the discus. He threw 145 feet and finished 5th overall. We did get a chance to talk to him about the discus competition. Here's what he had to say.
I think it's a big deal just because, it's getting down to crunch time, the regional meet here 2 weeks away. And I mean, with all the practice we put in, we really wanted to pay off, and me and him both got a great chance that we do our best to maybe even go past regionals. And so we definitely want to do our best at regionals, so this is just real important to get in the mix with a bunch of guys who can throw just as far as we can and compete and get used to that stiffer competition that really me and Cyril hasn't seen a whole lot of.
That's it for sports. I'm Jennifer Fierro. Connie, back to you.
Jennifer, thanks. A local attorney says he's withdrawing from the race for 33rd State District Court Judge. Robert Klaeger originally announced his bid for the position in March. The district includes Burnett, Blanco, Llano, and San Saba counties. That announcement came shortly after Judge Gil Jones announced he would not seek re-election. Now Klaeger says he has second thoughts and preferred not to deal with the pitfalls of political campaigning. Klaeger, who is a Republican, is married to Burnett County Administrative Judge Donna Klaeger. Another candidate seeking the party's nomination in the spring of 2012 is Public Defender Richard Davis. The most popular feel-good publication in the Highland Lakes is celebrating a birthday this month. It's been 20 years since the first edition of the Picayune. Victory Publishing owners and founders of the Picayune, Dan and Lee Alvey, grew the publication from a little wrapper, as they called it in the beginning, to a full-fledged community newspaper with a distribution of over 27,000 copies today. The Picayune focuses on positive and poignant stories from Burnett County area communities. It's a weekly, and time-honored features of the Picayune include personality profiles, reader-submitted pictures of grandkids, a Where in the Highland Lakes photo contest, a community events section called the Chatterbox, and much more. If you're interested in reading more about the history of the Picayune, you can pick up this week's issue or go online and read the pages at thepicayunetv.com. Those were your headlines. Stay tuned. Coming up next, we have the Burnett Candidates Forum, those folks that are running for school board. And after that, the Picayune Roundup, where we have the latest on the musical production Little Shop of Horrors, which is showing at Marble Falls High School. For the Picayune TV, I'm Connie Swinney.
Today we're in beautiful downtown Burnett at the Hill Country Community Foundation building. We're going to be taking a look at the Burnett Consolidated Independent School District races, putting the hard questions to the candidates. Stay with us. Welcome back. Today on Tribune Talk with Thomas Edwards, we're taking a look at the Burnett Consolidated Independent School District races. I'd like to introduce our panel of guest candidates for the school board. First, we'll start with place 3, Kay Behrens, Martin Riley, and then for place 7, incumbent Steve Salinas and Jim Luther, his opponent. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
The format is we give our candidates 3 questions. They have a minute each to answer the question, and then comes the fun part, the wild card question, which is completely off the cuff. Let's start with our first question, and we're going to direct it to Ms. Behrens. The question is, would you support a property tax increase if state aid fails to fund the district to an adequate level? Ms. Behrens.
That's a really hard question because it would affect me as a property owner as well as everybody else. But I think, first of all, the district should not just, the board should not just jump off and propose that. They should do everything else they can. And then if we did everything and couldn't balance the budget, I'm not saying I would be against it. but if that's the only option, I think at this point, the best thing to do would just keep contacting our legislatures and telling them that they need to figure out how to support the kids of Texas with the education that they deserve.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barron, for that response. Mr. Riley, it's your turn, sir.
I could say yes and just walk out the door because I probably wouldn't get elected. But along with Kay, I think that until the state budget is set, that all of that's speculation. Not to say that, you know, the best thing would be for our state legislatures to be able to balance the budget without us having to do that. But with that being said, that is something that has to be revisited by the Board of Trustees on a regular basis to justify whether or not that is something that needs to be done.
Very good answer. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to direct the question to incumbent Steve Salinas, who is running for place 7. Mr. Salinas?
Thank you. That's a very difficult question to answer, especially in light of the budget process. I mean, we can be anywhere from $1 million to $3 million off. As you know, the Senate and the House budgets are $4 billion apart from each other, but they do have one thing in common, and they're both cutting budgets for schools. The thing that we have been doing on the board is looking readily into cuts that we can make that don't affect the kids. I mean, first and foremost, we have to make the priorities the kids. We've gone through attrition with some of our folks as they retire and, you know, consolidated classes, but we're trying to keep our system whole and provide the best we can for the kids. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, and I'm not saying I'm for it, but we're going to make all efficiencies. Look at the district as a whole to see what we can cut before we would even go to the public with the tax ratification election.
Thank you, Mr. Salinas. And Mr. Jim Luther, that question goes to you too, sir.
Thank you. I also think that that's a tough question. It's a tough situation that the board is going to have to address. My first answer would be I would be opposed to it until all other avenues of budgets have been looked at. I don't think that that is something that we want to approach right now, but it may be something we have to look at in the long term.
Good. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Luther. Now we have another question. This is one of my favorites. I'll be interested to hear their answers to this one. Candidates, do you believe the curriculum strategy known as C-Scope is good or bad for the district? And Ms. Behrens, again, the question goes to you first.
I think that C-Scope is the way that the district needs to go because it's the curriculum that the STARS test is based on, so we need to align ourselves with that curriculum. Even though I know change is really, really hard, it was really, really hard several years ago when the district aligned themselves with the area schools and started the Hill Country Curriculum Consortium. And they did well at that, and that was a good curriculum, and it's done well for the district. But that doesn't mean that's where we need to stay. We need to advance, because if you advance, in order to advance, you have to change and improve, and I think the way to do that is with the C-Scope curriculum.
Well, thank you very much. And Mr. Martin Riley, who's also running for place 3, your turn, sir.
As far as C-Scope is concerned, I don't see that there's a problem necessarily with the curriculum. Again, it is something that state mandated testing as far as STARS goes lines up with that so that our students are successful in the STARS testing. The way that the curriculum is put together has been in question of whether or not you follow the C-Scope curriculum to a T, or do you allow your teachers to use their own imagination and their own teaching skills along with the C-Scope curriculum to make it successful. Are we only concerned with our children's STAR testing, or are we concerned with their education as a whole? Do we want to completely tie our teachers' hands behind our back, or do we give them some leeway in the classroom to be able to implement C-Scope to the best that it can be implemented?
Well, thank you very much. The question now goes to Mr. Steve Salinas.
Yeah, and this is another question. I mean, I know it's been highly publicized. C-Scope is a viable and supported curriculum. It's used by 19 of the regions and over 1,200 districts within the state of Texas. I don't believe C-Scope is a one-size-fits-all, though. I think it's best left up to the professional judgment of the teachers. C-Scope provides a framework which allows the teachers to add or remove components, as they see fit to meet the instructional needs of their kids. And they're going to be our best judgment. Or they have kids that are not on equal playing fields. And what C-Scope allows us to do is compete on that playing field for what's being learned across the state of Texas by other districts. So it evens out the playing field. And I believe that we're preparing our kids to meet the educational challenges of the future, and we've got amazing staff that provides that, and they will succeed in success of our kids.
Thank you, Mr. Salinas. Also, Mr. Luther, your response, please, sir.
I don't think C-Scope is a bad curriculum. I think there's a lot of good aspects with the curriculum. I do think that the teachers need to have more of an input on how the curriculum is taught in the classroom and have the leeway to teach other things with the curriculum. C-Scope, from what I've heard, is an okay curriculum, but teachers' hands are kind of tied, from what I hear, on teaching anything else but the curriculum.
Good. Well, thank you very much for your response. And now to our third question for the candidates. What, if anything, can be done to reduce time and money spent on the transportation of students? Ms. Behrens, please.
I know the district has already been very proactive in making changes to routes and trying to have buses get to schools later so they're not sitting there idling as long. So they've already been very proactive. With the big geographical area of our district that covers parts of 3 counties and the rising fuel costs, it's going to be hard to manage. I think that it's an ongoing process where the district needs to keep looking at the routes and student ridership and make sure that they make changes as necessary and appropriate on those routes. I also feel like that the only place to really cut is extracurricular, if it comes to that, and so the administration on the campuses would have to look at those trips and see if they're really necessary and trips that have to absolutely be taken.
Well, thank you very much. And now the same question goes to our other Place 3 candidate, Mr. Martin Riley.
As the school district looks at trying to cut budgets, again, we don't know what to do until the state sets its budget. As far as consolidating bus routes, something that would have to be looked at very seriously, and I know they already are. How long do you want kids to be on the bus? How many routes could be consolidated? Those kinds of things to be able to reduce some routes. Hard questions for sure. As far as the extracurricular, this is a 2-part question because it has to do with extracurricular activities too. I am a big advocate of extracurricular activities within our schools. I think that it develops well-rounded kids with good social skills and teaches them a lot of things that they can't learn in the classroom through extracurricular activities. It's something that is a very important issue that has to be visited by the Board of Trustees for sure.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Salinas, for Place 7, the incumbent, what's your response to that question, sir?
Transportation has been one of the biggest costs in BCISD for years. What makes it difficult, we transport over 2,000 kids a day. I mean, that's over 2/3 of our students that we have. And we're covering an area of 703 square miles. And we travel close to 1 million miles a year, which makes it difficult. I mean, it's a never-ending target. Fuel prices, last year we budgeted at a rate of 2.25 a gallon, 2.25 a gallon. Now we're looking at excess of 350. I mean, that's adding another $300,000 to our budget. We're being as efficient as we possible with the routes, and we're actually looking at even consolidating routes maybe to make centralized stops. We're buying buses that are fuel efficient, that conform to state standards. It's definitely a moving target, but I think the district is, weekly looking at efficiencies in bus routes and will continue to do so.
Good. Well, thank you very much. And the question also goes to our other Place 7 candidate, Mr. Jim Luther.
That's also a problem that I think everybody's facing. We can look at consolidating the routes, look at the idle time policy, and those sort of things. But the bottom line is we've got to get the kids to school. If they're not at school, then we don't have school. I think the extracurricular activities, that's not a place that I would look at cutting either. It is my hope that the state of Texas legislature comes to an agreement and solves this problem for us somewhat.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Luther. Our candidates have given us some very excellent considered responses to these questions. Now we come to a segment that we like to call the wild card question. This is a question they have not been prepped for. It arises from reader and viewership participations and even some bull sessions back in the newsroom. We're going to see how our candidates think on their feet with this one. Candidates, what would you do to give rank and file BCISD employees more of a voice? We'll start with Ms. Behrens.
Well, I feel like that they already have somewhat of a voice, but I think that the principals on the campuses need to know for sure that they need to listen to their staff, and that, you know, just because they're in charge and they are the principal doesn't mean what they say necessarily goes, that they can be questioned, and, you know, in a respectful way. They can be questioned, but they also, teachers are teaching the kids, so they have good ideas, so they need to be receptive to those ideas.
Thank you very much. And the other Place 3 candidate, Mr. Martin Riley, how do you respond, sir?
Oh, I think it's very important that the voice of the faculty and the rank and file, as you put it, is heard. It is kind of a general consensus from some of the faculty that I've spoken to is that they don't feel like their voices are heard, not only within the administration, but within the Board of Trustees itself. And I think there needs to be some transparency among the administration and the Board of Trustees, and have avenues for the faculty to go to voice their concerns, a place in a forum where they are actually heard and taken into consideration.
Good, thank you very much. Place 7 incumbent, Mr. Steve Salinas, your response, sir?
Yeah, teachers are front lines to the kids. I mean, they are doctors, they're counselors, they're mothers, they're disciplinarians. I mean, they know what's going on. If there is a problem that arises, it's going to come from the teachers. And they're going to be the first ones to address it. Our administration needs to listen to our teachers. It's vital that we listen to them, because those problems are going to be the ones that help make the district a better place to be. It's simply stated, I mean, the teachers are a lifeblood of this district, and they have to have a voice. Even if it's a bad idea or a good idea, it's going to lend information to our administrators. Hey, we've got something coming up, we need to address it, and we need to fix it.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Jim Luther, sir.
I also think that the teachers in the trenches are the ones that are doing the work. I think that there needs to be an avenue that they can be heard, they can voice their concerns without any fear of repercussions because they spoke their mind. A lot of what they have to say is beneficial to our students. The concerns that they have or concerns that have to do with the education and how they're taught. I would always have an open mind and be willing to talk to any one of them. I think they need to have an avenue to get to us and to talk with their principals and administration.
Thank you very much. This has been Tribune Talk with Thomas Edwards, the Candidates Forum. Today we've looked at the race for the Burnett Consolidated Independent School District. We've had a wonderful panel. I'd like to thank our guests, including Place 3 candidates Kay Behrens and also Mr. Martin Riley, the Place 7 candidates, including incumbent Steve Salinas and Mr. Jim Luther. I'd like to remind our viewers that they can catch this show on www.thepicayunetv.com, as well as on Northland Communications Cable Channel 15. It's a great show. We appreciate you being here. We want you to go out and vote May 14th. Exercise your right. Panelists, thank you very much. Have a great day, viewers. Thank you very much.
Hey everybody, Daniel Clifton here with your Picayune Roundup. We're on the hunt for festive events and activities this episode of the Roundup. Let's start with an event at Marble Falls High School.
Feed me, Crowboy, feed me now!
Now that's what I call a man-eating performance. The musical theater department is hosting the production of A Little Shop of Horrors. The first performance is Friday, April 29th at 7 p.m. at the high school auditorium. Additional performances are held April 30th and May 2nd at 7 p.m. You can check out the Sunday matinee, May 1st, which starts at 2:30 p.m. Your admission is a donation at the door. Hoping you'll want to see more of these youngsters on stage. In our next feature, they call it a high-tech scavenger hunt. The Falls on the Colorado Museum was a backdrop for a presentation to introduce the public to a hobby which is gaining popularity. Geocaching is a scavenger hunt played throughout the world using GPS. The basic goal is to locate hidden objects and share experiences. In her presentation at the museum, Kylie Ann Futrell connected the avocation to a few local historic sites. She also gave insight to adventures which surround the activity.
There are some really insane geocachers who will swim to the bottom of Lake Picayune and find one. And there are some of us who like to hike to mountains that are 13,000 plus feet and just about fall off the side of the mountain.
After seeing that, if you're on a mission to explore geocaching, check out the website on your screen. While some people are hunting for historic treasures, we found others hunting for the Easter Bunny this past holiday weekend. The Granite Shoals Police shared these images with us from their community Easter egg hunt. The event at Highland Lakes Elementary School was sponsored by the Granite Shoals Police Officers Association. Hundreds of children and their families attended and gathered over 50,000 eggs. The Easter Bunny paid everyone a visit, even arriving in an armored vehicle furnished by the police department. All right. Well, that was your roundup. Be sure to check out this week's edition of the Picayune. We launch our celebration of the 20th anniversary for the publication. For the Picayune TV, I'm Daniel Clifton. Thanks so much for watching.